Most respected Venerable Bhikkhuni Dhammananda Bhikkhuni and all Dhamma friends, welcome you all to our Vinaya class, Application of Vinaya in Contemporary World. Thank you very much indeed for joining our Vinaya class this evening. First of all, let me tell you about background to the class. Last year, Mahabodhi Society of India, MBSI, in collaboration with United Dhammananda Bhikkhuni Sangha International, organized a Dhamma program throughout the years for the benefit of all. With great respect for the Buddha's teaching, this year, MBSI and UTBSI plan to organize a series of Vinaya class throughout the year on the 9th of May to November. The Vinaya the Buddha gave to us was more than 2,500 years ago, with different contexts and circumstances. Nowadays, how could we apply the Vinaya? Our class will run according to the 7 sections in Patimokkha. This evening, our class starts with the first section, which is the most serious section of the Patimokkha, Parajika. Now, it is deemed appropriate. May I introduce you to our speaker? Let me share the PowerPoint. Application of Vinaya in Contemporary World, Parajika. Our speaker this evening, Venerable Dhammananda Bhikkhuni, the abbess of Songtham Kalyani Monastery, Nakhon Pathom, Thailand. You may visit our website on songthamkalyani.com. Here is the photo of our monastery. Most Venerable was previously known as Associate Professor Dr. Chasuman Kabila Singh. She holds a BA Honorable in Philosophy from Visvabharati University, Santiniketan, India, and MA in Religion from McMaster University, Canada, and a PhD in Buddhist Study from Magadha University, India. She taught Buddhism and Eastern philosophy at Thammasat University, Bangkok for 27 years, from 1973 to 2000. With strong academic backgrounds, she is an author and translator of more than 100 books. 2 books regarding Vinaya from her dissertation are A Comparative Study of Bhikkhuni Patimokkha and the Bhikkhuni Patimokkha of the Sixth School. She received high ordination from Sri Lanka in 2003 and became the first fully ordained Theravada Bhikkhuni in Thailand. She gave ordination to more than 1,000 samarii as of April 6, 2023. May I request Most Venerable Dhammananda Bhikkhuni kindly share your knowledge and experience with us, please.
I would like to begin together with our Bhikkhuni Sangha. My first of all respect to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. I also would like to pay respect to Mahapajapati, our very first Bhikkhuni in the history, in Buddhist history. Ratan yunang Bhikkhuni nang kotami jinnama tucha thapita akathanam hi sada soting karo tuno. I pay respect to Mahapajapati for being the one who knows many nights. That was according to what the Buddha praised her. In fact, this was taken from a larger piece of verses. It is called the Great Peace, which is long. It takes us about 1 hour and 5 minutes to complete the whole chanting. But I just take the very first portion, paying respect to Mahapajapati Gotami. I would like to pay respect to Venerable P. Sivali, Secretary General of Mahabodhi Society of India, whom I consider actually the founder of UTPSI. He was in the background supporting us Theravada Bhikkhuni to come forward together as UTPSI, United Bhikkhuni, Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International. I would like to pay respect to UTPSI committee members. My respect to Venerable Dr. Liu Phap, the Secretary of UTPSI. She is from Vietnam. I would like to pay respect to Venerable Santini and her team, particularly Venerable Kusalayani from Indonesia, for providing us this Zoom link so that we can be with you. And also, I would like to pay respect to all other committee members from Malaysia, from Australia, from United States. My respect to you all. And allow me to start this very first Vinaya class that we are actually learning together. Please understand that we are learning this together. I give you a larger background before I actually come to Parajika. The larger background, that's something to be proud. No, as a Buddhist, we should not be proud. But as I would like to share with you this very interesting information that Buddhism provides the largest religious literature. In Thai language, we have the Tripitaka in 45 volumes. Can you imagine? And each volume consists of 300 pages. So that is huge literature, huge religious literature that you can find. The teaching was handed down in those days, Of course, they had the script, but it was not written. It was not a fashion to write down the religious teaching. So therefore, it was handed down from word of mouth. It is called Mukhapatha. That is when the Buddha taught, it is remembered. And the person whom we have to really pay respect to was Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda was taking care of the Buddha for the last 25 years of the Buddha's life. And during those 25 years, Venerable Ananda really captured all the teaching. He was a very good recorder. He recorded all the teaching of the Buddha and handed down to us So we have to really pay respect to Venerable Ananda. And this continued, this style of handing down the teaching from master to disciples continued on for many hundred of years until possibly the year was something like 450 AD. It was first putting into record, on palm leaves. So that's why our Buddhist text is called Tripitaka. Tripitaka means the three baskets of Vinaya, of Sutta, and of Abhidharma. So the teachings were then kept in three different baskets, three different sections, so to say. It was remembered. The text was remembered by various masters in Sri Lanka. Those who are particularly well versed in this particular sutra, then they would be invited and start writing down on palm leaves in the year 450 AD. So that was how we started having this written Tripitaka. Now, among the three baskets, Vinaya is supposed to be the oldest. Proved historically by the historians, by academics. Vinaya is supposed to be the oldest, but among the Vinaya, I don't know about in your language, but in Thai language, we have 8 volumes, and volume 8, Parivara is later inclusion. You can tell from the story given in Parivara itself. But otherwise, Vinaya is supposed to be considered the oldest of the three baskets. In the Vinaya, you have both the do's and the don'ts, and also how these rules came into existence, which is recorded in the part which is called Vipanka. The Vipanka gives the story behind each rule, how it came into existence. Very interesting for those of you who are interested to study history, to study society, Indian society of that time. Now, what we are discussing is Patimok. Patimok is the don't of the Vinaya. It is short, precise. You are not to do that. Among the Vinaya literature, Patimok is considered the oldest. So what we are discussing about the oldest information, the oldest teaching in Buddhism. It was memorized, and it was recited twice a month, on the full moon and on the dark moon. The bhikkhus, in the beginning, the bhikkhunis did not know how to recite the Patimok, and the bhikkhunis had to learn from the bhikkhus. But once when the bhikkhunis have learned the Patimok, then they start reciting on their own, and the bhikkhus do the recitation also separately. But on the day of Patimok, full moon and dark moon, before the Bhikkhuni sangha recite the Patimok, we have to take ovada, we have to take instruction from a senior bhikkhu. The senior bhikkhu must be at least 20 years old. He must be a monk for at least 20 years, well learned in both Vinaya and Dhamma. So that is how it is practiced, even up till now. Now, the fact that we have to recite the Patimok twice a month, that's why the Patimok is so much intact, so much preserved, and so much handed down to us today. In Ashoka's time, King Ashoka the Great, King Ashoka is about 3rd century BE. He mentioned that there were 18 schools of Buddhism. But I'm sorry to say that the Vinaya or the Patimok as preserved, that is handed down to us in the present day, we have only 6 schools, 6 Patimok left. And we have to be thankful to our Chinese brothers and sisters for preserving the Patimok of the 6 schools in the Chinese Tripitaka. Now, in my time when I was young, I still was able to see the Patimok, printed Patimok. It is called Upato Patimok. Upato Patimok. Upato means two. That is the Patimok of the Bhikkhus and the Bhikkhunis. So in the Bhikkhu part, just to give you an example, the one that we are dealing right now today is about Parajika, the very first section. You will have 4 Parajikas for the Bhikkhus. And then when you turn and look at the Bhikkhuni Parajika, you will find number 5, 6, 7, 8. And not mention about 1, 2, 3, 4. It is understood that the Bhikkhuni Patimok take also the first 4 Patimok from the Bhikkhu. So that which is shared between the Bhikkhus and Bhikkhunis is called Satharana. Satharana means common to both. And when it is practiced only among Bhikkhus or only among the Bhikkhunis, that is called Asatharana, which is not public, only for the Bhikkhus or only for the Bhikkhunis. The Parajika 1 to 4 is Satharana, that is practiced by both the Bhikkhus as well as the Bhikkhunis. But number 5 to number 8, it is Satharana, that is practiced only for the Bhikkhunis. Yes? So now we can take a look. We can take a look at the first 4, Venerable Dhammaparipurna. Yes, let's have a look. Let's have a look together. We just go very briefly. The very first part, I must tell you also that Parajika means, the word Parajika means defeat. One who has transgressed Parajika is defeated. No more a monk, no more a Bhikkhuni, no more a Bhikkhu. So very important. That's why it is most essential that we keep our Parajika intact. The very first one, whatever nun, actually this one came from the monk, from the Bhikkhus. Whatever nun should enjoy having sexual intercourse, at the least, even with animal, she becomes one who is defeated. As you understand that the rule for the lay people, when they take the 5 precepts, the rule about sexual misconduct comes as a third one. But as soon as you become monastic, this becomes the very first one. Because as it happened, this sexual desire is something that the Buddha said. The Buddha said that it is the stickiest sap, very difficult to give up. As human being, very difficult to give up. So as it happened, the story was about Venerable Sudina. Sudina was a married man, but he became very interested, had great faith in the Buddha, and he became ordained to follow the Buddha. But when he visited his family, his parents urged him to have sexual intercourse with his wife, with his previous wife, and the parents were saying that, now that you left us, we don't have grandchildren. At least you sleep with your wife. At least we can have grandchildren, so on and so forth. So unwillingly, he slept with his wife. Upon his return to his arama, he was thinking all the time, whether he had done something wrong or not, and it must have really bothered his conscience a bit. He became very thin. He could not eat and became very thin, concerned about whether he had transgressed any monastic rules. At that time, there was no rule yet. People who come out to follow the Buddha just simply let the monastic lifestyle without any rules forbidding them to do this, to do that. His friends observed that he was thin, getting thin and getting very pale. So asked him, what bothered you? So the Venerable Sudina told his friend about what happened when he went to visit his family. Oh, then his monk's friends, oh, you should not have done that, Now that we are bhikkhus, we should not have sex. So this became known to the Buddha. Then the Buddha set down the rule that as a monk, we come out as monastics, As a monk, we should not have sexual intercourse with human beings. So men should not have sexual intercourse with women. Then this particular rule by itself, continued in our Tripitaka. You read the Tripitaka, you will be amazed. It continued on for more than 300 pages on this one particular rule, how it kept on growing, So, okay, you don't sleep with a woman, so you have sexual intercourse with female animals. So again, the rule is set down, and no, you should not have sex with female animals. Then the monks still had sex with dead female animals, still have sex with pieces of certain part of the female part, it goes on like that for more than 300 pages. So the rule about sexual misconduct is very important for monastic. That's why it's number one. It appears number one because that was the very first one that it was broken. It was broken, and because it was not laid down yet. So therefore, the person who was the cause of this particular rule was not considered having transgressed the rule, and it was put down as the very first rule in Parajika. Now, in modern context, Venerable Ripuna will be helping me in asking questions later, because now it is not only having sex with the opposite sex. Now we also have to consider having sex with the same sex, whether it is right or wrong, whether it will be considered transgressing or not. Number two is taking what is not given. This is for the lay people would be stealing. But for monastics, for bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, it goes into details of even things of minor value should not be taken without getting permission from the owner. So I think we can move on to the third rule. Yes, thank you. Killing human being or suggesting to others. This is very interesting. Whatever nun should purposely deprive a human being of life by giving him a knife for killing or recommended advantages in death to kill himself in various ways with such thoughts and intentions as, oh, good man, what good is this miserable life for you? Death is better than life, like that, somehow that person just go out and kill himself. Now, interestingly, it was explained to me, which I'm sorry that I do not agree. It was explained that if a monk tells a man that to go and kill Mr. A on Monday, but the person took the order and go and kill Mr. A on Tuesday, the monk is considered not transgressing the rule. To me, to my understanding, that is rather tricky. That we should really see the intention. So taking life, offering help for people to take life, all that included in this particular rule that we have to be very careful. We go forward to number 4. Telling lies or claiming to have supernatural power that you don't have. If you do have supernatural power and you talk about it, you are boastful about it, it is still wrong, but the transgression is less. Not in Parajika. Parajika happens when you boast of supernatural power that you do not have. That is considered not only ordinary lie, but Parajika. That is very important because in those days, people claim to have a supernatural power. It is not lying for lying, but it is telling lies in order to gain benefit, in order to gain disciples in order to gain support from disciples like that, monastics should not do, and it is considered a very serious offense for the monastics. Yes. Now these are for the monks, and these are also applicable for the bhikkhunis. Now I can say here that these 4 parajikas for the monks were completed within the first 5 years of the Buddha's of the Buddha's mission, because the bhikkhunis came at this junction, at this time. The bhikkhuni came into existence 5 years after the bhikkhus, and when the bhikkhuni joined, these 4 rules were already there. So we can say that these 4 rules, 4 parajikas, came into existence in the first 5 years, and then after that the bhikkhunis joined, and the bhikkhunis also developed their own parajika rules that we can take a look immediately after this. Yes. Venerable, number 5. Yes, thank you. Now this parajika, this part of parajika is asatharana. Asatharana means it is only for the bhikkhunis, not for the bhikkhus. But the first 4, it is satharana. It is both for bhikkhus and bhikkhunis. Whatever nun filled with desire should consent to rubbing up against and taking hold of, or touching or pressing against a male person below the collarbone above the circle of the knees, if he is filled with desire. Underline this. If he is filled with desire, she becomes one who is defeated. This is very important. This number 5, Parajika 5, I had trouble understanding this. It took me more than a year, to really have a better understanding, because in this particular rule, the bhikkhuni had not done anything yet, simply allow a man to touch her private part, so to say, collarbone down to your knee. That is supposed to be your private part. Why is it so important? Why are we bhikkhunis considered transgress if we allow a man who is filled with desire? That is important part that now I see. Because once when you allow a man whom you know that he is filled with desire to have sex with you, if you allow him to touch you, these private parts, what happens is, after that, you will not be able to stop him. So this rule is set purely for the protection of the bhikkhunis, which later on I really became, very respectful of the cetana, of the intention behind the rules. That's why this rule is set in this manner. Now we go quickly. I check with the time whether I'm taking too much time. Now we go to the number 6. Yes, hiding others' defeat. And this is very interesting. A bhikkhuni has been defeated. She has been defeated. She has already gone against Parajika. She has already transgressed against Parajika. But the second bhikkhuni all the time knew that this one is already defeated, but she kept quiet. She didn't say anything. Only when that bhikkhuni disrobed, then she starts saying, "Oh, I know that this bhikkhuni, she was defeated so and so." The second bhikkhuni, who she herself had not transgressed Parajika, but she kept others' defeat. She kept others' Parajika defeat secret. She herself also fall into this Parajika. Very important. Why is it so? Because in order to keep the sangha going, The sangha must be pure. You cannot sit and do the recitation of Patimok with a nun, with a bhikkhuni who has already transgressed Parajika to be among the sangha. The sangha must be pure. In order to keep the sangha pure, you cannot keep secret if you know that this person has already broken the Parajika. Yes, so very important. Next one, please. Number 7. This one we have been discussing, because this is a very strange Parajika. Because usually, when you have done that, you are considered against Parajika as soon as you do it. This time is after the 3rd admonition. This when an act is after 3 admonition, usually it comes in the next section in Sanghadisesa. So we were thinking that maybe this may be misplaced, or this one should have been considered Sankatisesa more than Parajika. That this is up to us to really help each other to look. Whatever nun should imitate him, a monk, who is suspended by a complete order, one who is disrespectful towards, who does not make amends towards, one who is unfriendly towards the rule, the discipline, the teacher's instruction, that nun should be spoken thus by the order. In disrespectful towards, he does not make amends towards, he is unfriendly towards the rule, the discipline, the teacher's instruction. Do not imitate this monk, lady. And if this nun, being spoken to by these nuns, should persist as before, that nun should be admonished by the nuns up to the 3rd time. For if she give up, then it's well and good. But if she does not give up after the 3rd admonition, then she is considered defeated of Parajika. So it is very important that as a bhikkhuni, you have already been told by the Bhikkhuni Sangha that this particular monk has already been suspended, has already been removed by an order of complete Sangha. You should not be following him, but still you are still following him like that, So this becomes very, very, very interesting, that we must be very careful to keep the unity of the Sangha intact. Yes, we go to the next one. Whatever nun, filled with desire, for the sake of following what is verily not the rule, should consent to taking hold of the hand of a male person who is filled with desire, or should stand, or should consent to a man's approaching her, or should enter into a covered place, or should dispose the body of for such purpose, she also becomes one who is defeated. She is not in communion. She is a doer of 8 things. Yes, this is the 8 Parajikas. That is, it is very important, being a woman, being a bhikkhuni, that even to allow a man to be close to you, holding on to you, even holding on to our Sanghati, and then travel with him, go with him into a covered place. This is all leading towards sexual misconduct, which is a no-no, which is a defeat, considered a defeat for Parajika. So a bhikkhuni should not put herself in such position. So she herself will be easier to be taken away into sexual desire, taken by sexual desire of the opposite sex. But now we also have to talk about sexual desire of the same sex. This is for modern generation. So these are all the 8 Parajikas that we have looked, and now with the modern generation, we have to really be seriously looking at these Parajikas with a new light, because society has changed from 2,500 years ago. Now we live in a much more complicated society. So it is not just a straight man and woman, but it is also now you have a society which is called LGBTQ whatever. So we also have to protect our Bhikkhuni Sangha from not getting involved into those difficult situations which will cause the, losing faith in the lay people. This is very important for us to continue. Apart from ourselves, we have to know our own commitment, but at the same time, we also have to care for what the lay people who are supporting us might think of us. Yes, and now I go back to Venerable Dhamma Paripuna. Venerable Paripuna, you have not muted. Unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. Thank you very much for extending your accumulated knowledge and experience to us all. And now I think it's time that we invite our participants to ask questions regarding Parajika. So please feel free to ask the question to the most venerable, or you can put your question in the chat box. I will ask her on your behalf.
It is very easy. You can raise your hand and then you can unmute yourself and you ask questions. Oh, I see we have Arya Vihara from Malaysia with us also.
Yes.
So good, Venerable.
Venerable Sumangala.
Namaskar, Namaskar, and all 20 years. I have a question for Dhammananda related to Parajikas. I have for now I have a question, only one question, because now according to the social media that we use, can use a social media as like Facebook. So video call between Bhikkhuni and Bhikkhu talking of, that related to intimate. Yeah, intimate. And sometimes just example until they feel sensual desire together. And so how about this?
Also, yes, this is
not touch or anything, just yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the question. Very practical question, and something that actually really happened in the modern world. This sometimes they just text in line, and then eventually the bhikkhuni is disrobed. Eventually the bhikkhu is disrobed. So this kind of conversation, you look at cetana, you look at intention. It may not be considered parajika, but it may be considered a transgression against pajittiya in the latest section. But the Buddha said, cetana hang bhikkhave kammang vadami. It depends whether we will consider it is transgression or not. It depends completely on the intention. Why are they having this intimate conversation? Yes, it may not be considered transgression against parajika, but it is considered maybe against pajittiya, which eventually leads to the destruction of monastic life. Yeah, that person eventually have to disrobe like that, you know. So this may not be parajika, but it is not proper. It is not proper. And with this modern society, you know, this the use of this mobile phone, the monastics, both bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, really have to practice very well. Have to be even more strong rooted in the practice. Otherwise, they get swayed easily. You know, right now in Thailand, we have a big case going on, you know, with 180 million hidden somewhere, you know, and with sex not with women, but sex with monks themselves. This is the latest, latest from Thailand. Something that we feel very sorry. We feel very sorry that we need to really take note that as monastics, why we are monastics, you know, whether we are actually worthy of the respect that the lay people give to us. We always have to make that self-valuation, self-judgment, self-examination all the time so that we can keep the sangha going forward.
Yeah.
Very good question.
Thank you.
Any more questions from some?
Yeah, from me.
Yes.
Sukihotu Venerable, my question is just now Venerable mentioned that if the bhikkhuni allows the male to touch even the rope, is also considered defeated, right?
Yes, underline, knowing very well that that man has intention.
Okay, what if there's no intention from the bhikkhuni, but the male intentionally touch her, not even the rope, just touch her?
Yes, now the bhikkhuni, whether the bhikkhuni knows or not that that man has intention.
Then it's
The
considered
bhikkhuni
defeated.
herself may not have,
Yeah.
may be clear in her mind, but does she know that that man has intention for has sexual desire, so to say, to speak out more clearly. If she knows that that man has sexual desire for her and allows the man to touch her, then it is against parajika.
Oh, so that means the male, if he doesn't want this lady to be a bhikkhuni, so he will purposely touch her. Then she has to disrobe.
No, he purposely touched her in order so that she will have to disrobe.
Yeah.
But she herself, did she know?
No, she doesn't.
She does
If
not
she
know.
doesn't,
Then you cannot press her for the transgression against parajika.
Okay.
Again, it comes back to the first question that I answered, that it depends very much on Jetana, her own intention.
Her own intention.
Was she clear? Otherwise, you know, some good bhikkhunis may be, how to say, maybe victims of such thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, while waiting for question, I will ask Venerable the previous question we have. Wait a minute. Yes. Some
Yes.
Sayalis talk about the story of Most Venerable Upalawana. Could you give more explanation on that?
Yes, that is a beautiful story, no, about Venerable Upalawana. When she was raped, she was an arahat. She was an arahat and she was raped. And the man, his name was Nanda, being actually her own cousin. He was in love with her for a long time, you know. So she was an enlightened person. So therefore, of course, she did not take, how to say, she did not take pleasure Actually, it was forced against her. So as soon as Nanda, this man, as soon as he came out of her kuti, he was swallowed by the earth. Yes. And then there were gossips, that the monks were talking about, oh, this Venerable Upalavana was brave, whether she should disrobe or not. The Buddha came out. The Buddha came out and protected her by saying that with her pure mind, she is free from Parajika. And don't forget that Venerable Upalavana was in the previous birth. Immediate previous birth was the Buddha's own daughter. Yes, so the Buddha protected her as the Buddha and also protected her as a father. Such a beautiful story with Venerable Upalavana. Thank you, Sayale, for raising this issue. Yes, Sayale, that is correct. Yes.
Well, let me.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Swasti.
Shashwati.
Yes.
I am from. Just a minute. I can open my video. Just a minute. Anyway, I am from Calcutta University, Shashwati Mosuddi. Pranam, sister. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Saraswati. Yes.
Yes. Can you remember me?
I do not see your face. I cannot remember.
Yes, just a minute. That's why I am just searching. Yeah.
Coming.
Yes. Pranam, sister, Dhammananda, and other who are in Bhikkhuni Sangha. I have just one queries about. It's really very nice and very provoking lecture, I should say. But actually, I have just one question that whether there is any other new what can I say, new Patimokha for Bhikkhuni Sangha. As we know that in Pali earlier 311, I think, in Patimokha rules. And now later, what is the situation or what is the status of that? That's only my queries.
Okay, thank you, Saraswati. The Patimo remains 311 for the Bhikkhunis, at least in Theravada tradition. We keep 311. In Dharmakupta, they have 348. Yes, but we are discussing from Theravada because UTBSI is a United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International. So we discuss from Theravada perspective. Yes, we still talk about the 311, and today we start with the very first section, that is Parajika, with the eight rules. Yes.
Okay, that's all my question. Thank you, sister.
Please feel free to have question or put your question in the chat box.
Otherwise, Venerable, you can go ahead with your question.
Okay, this is the question that I collected from the previous one we had. The first one is that the defeated one cannot be reordained as the bhikkhuni. Can he be reordained as a seminary?
Now this is something that I really have to ask the more senior masters. I think defeated is already like your head is cut off. Your head is cut off. I would, if you ask me personally, I would say no, because the person once when you have transgressed the very serious section, you are defeated. You are defeated, which means that your life as a monastic does not grow, cannot grow. cannot grow. So even if you come back as a Samaneri, I doubt very much, because Samaneri, then you will be going on to Sikkamana, then you will be coming back to the Bhikkhunis again. No, of course not. Of course not. And as I understand that once Parajika, that person is returned completely to the lay life and not allowed to enter the monkhood anymore.
So
This is my
Parajika,
understanding. I'm
yeah.
sorry, I still need to get the proper reference to answer you, how to say, correctly.
Clarify.
I also would like to invite my UTBSI members, to help me to answer this particular question. How do we handle it in the modern situation? In Thailand, we do have cases like this particular monk is already defeated, so he left the monkhood, but then he went to another provinces, and then he received ordination again, and the Upajjhaya did not know that he was already defeated. It gave him a new ordination. I still confirm my understanding that a person who is already defeated will not be able to come back. Not only that he cannot come back, he will not grow in monastic life.
Thank you. So this Parajika is more or less like death penalty for the monkhood.
Yes. Yes, it is a death penalty, yes.
Any question from the participant? If not, I will ask the next question.
Whenever Paripurna is very, very crafty, she has sets of her own questions. In case the screen went blank, then she will come in with her own questions. But please do feel very free to raise your hand, come in, join us, and so that we get to see faces from different part of the world. I have to thank particularly to our UTPSI member, Venerable Santini, for providing us this space like this, that, we from different corner of the world that we can see each other.
Question? Okay, maybe I can ask your questions, because nowadays sometimes the Bhikkhuni is involved in some asset or money, whatever. For example, in rule number 2, taking what's not given, that's a parajika. So if later she was proven not guilty by the verdict, that means she's not stealing. Sanghati will still apply to her because of involving in the lawsuits or not?
Yeah, actually, we do have actual case, to go with this question. This happened in Thailand just very recently, that senior monk, very high senior monk with titles, were, how to say, took form, how to say in English, took form. He was accused of handling money wrongly, and it's not 1 or 2 baht, it's millions, hundreds of millions. And so when he was sued, he had to go to court, and he had to go to prison. But when he went to prison, they will not take you with the robe, so you are literally, you have to change into white. But he did not pronounce the actual disrobing. So he remained in the prison for 1 or 2 years, and now he has been acquitted. It has been proved that he was not at fault, so to say, not at fault. So now they return his title, and now he put on the robe back as a monk, as before, So this is actually what happened in our society. So if that monk knew for sure that he had not done anything wrong, insisted that he had not done anything wrong, even though they forced him out of robe, but he did not make pronouncement of I return to lay life, so to say. And then he kept his lifestyle in white in the prison. He kept his lifestyle as a monk. Then when he was acquitted, they returned everything to him again. Yeah, this is what happened in Thailand.
Thank you.
But I didn't answer the second part, whether that person will be accused or will be sued against Sankhatisesa or not. That is another issue that I did not mention here.
Thank you. Any more questions from our participant?
Do I understand correctly that this our Zoom link is valid for 1 hour, which we should end by
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock Thai time? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we have six more minutes, 6 more valuable
Yes,
minutes.
hello.
Yes.
Yeah, sister. Again, I just want to ask, rather is for our Bhikkhuni Sangha, Theravadi Bhikkhuni Sangha, all of you, that whether now are you thinking to remodeling or any other renewal rather this Patimokho, particularly for Bhikkhuni Sangha, because that rules, those rules are really very old, and now the situation and the whole universe has been changed. So what are you thinking about it? It's my question to all of you.
Yes. I think I can. I don't know whether I'm representing the Theravada Bhikkhunis or not, but realizing
Yes,
myself
you.
as Theravada Bhikkhuni, I keep intact. I keep intact with all the 311 precepts, and we do the recitation twice a month, and we keep checking ourselves whether we have gone wrong against any one of them, with understanding of the rules. So each rule must be taken seriously, and understand the rules by spirit, not by words. Like, what we have been struggling was this touching money. Some Bhikkhunis do not touch money literally, but by not touching money literally, you still have to live in this world, and you cannot possibly go on a taxi without paying. And then you arrived, particularly suppose if you arrive in my temple and I do not know you and I have to pay 2,000 for you, that is more than taking money out of my purse, which can be considered stealing. You see? So not touching money, but force somebody else to pay for it, that is stealing. More serious. So this touching money, I always say, I touch money, but I do not allow money to touch me. You understand? Touch money, handling money, but do not allow money to handle you. Very important that we
Yes.
have to understand the rules by spirit. And
That's why I am asking. Actually, I am
yes, so we
actually.
cannot go. Somebody was suggesting that we should change the rules. We do not change the rules, but we must understand the rules, respect the rules, and
Yes,
see to the content of the spirit of the rules.
yes. Actually, that is my question, because I am attaching with the Pali literature and the department rather in Calcutta University. That's why always is actually in my mind, and always I am thinking about it, that whether it's Bhikkhuni Sangha or Bhikkhu Sangha, which rules are there, all those are very old one actually. But whether all these are relevant in this society, that is the question actually. I know that spirit is okay, but the situation we can't deny.
Yes,
That's why I am
that's why I
asking.
said that, in order for us to keep the 311 precepts properly,
Yes,
we need to
yes,
study the Vipanka. Vipanka, in the Vinaya we have the Vipanka, which give the story how each rules were laid and what is the intention behind each one of them, which is very important for us to study. So do not take the rule just by words. Do not take the rule by itself. Do not take the rule out of context. We have to consider the context. We have to consider what time, when it happened, and how it happened, and what was the purpose of laying these rules. Very important for us to understand.
yes. Thank you so much. I am privileged and honored. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so very much, Most Venerable. It seems like our first session of Vinaya class has come to an end. Let me conclude the section. In a nutshell, there are 8 rules in Parajika. These include having sexual intercourse, taking what is not given, killing a human being or suggesting to others, claiming to have supernatural knowledge, touching above the circle of the knees, hiding others' defeat, imitating a suspended monk, being persistent after the 3rd admonition, and being filled with desire, doing of 8 things. Parajika is the most serious section in Patimokkha. The penalty is death penalty in monkhood, comparable to capital punishment. In criminal law, no remedy can be made. We are grateful to Most Venerable Dhammananda Mahathiri for extending your accumulated knowledge, experience, and so many cases that raise for better understanding of our application of the Vinaya. Thank you very much. May I take this opportunity to thank MBSI and UTBSI, and also our UTBSI coordinator, Most Venerable Tathaluka Mahathiri, Most Venerable Santini Mahathiri, Most Venerable Vitita Dhamma, Dr. Liu Fab, Venerable Bodhicitta Theri, and Venerable Sumankala for the valuable suggestion for this Vinaya class. Special thanks goes to Most Venerable Santini Mahathiri and her team, Venerable Vijayani. Without their support, we could not have this meeting. Last but not least, I would like to thank all participants attending the class. Without your contribution, the video class would not make possible. Next session, Sangha Disesa, will be on July 9th. I will keep you informed. I'm Bhikkhuni Dhamma Paripurna, your moderator. Good evening.
Sadhu, sadhu.